Hi there, let's talk about taking young kids, toddlers, babies over to Disney World on vacation. There's some great tips that I have for you in making the most of your time so that you can have happy kids and happy adults. So stay tuned for all of my tips and tricks for bringing little kids to Disney World. I often hear from people, there's no point in taking my kid when they're this little, they're not going to remember Disney. And I think that that is something that can be true. They may not remember everything that is happening to them at Disney World. However, you will remember it. You are making family memories. And just because they may not remember it doesn't mean you don't do it. You still take them to the park. You still take them to see family members, even if they won't remember it. So if you have older kids or if you are Disney fans yourself, do not let the time go by and don't feel intimidated by taking the littlest kids in your group to Disney. It will be magical for everyone, especially if you follow some really great season tips that we have just given the amount of times that we've taken young kiddos. There are some ways to do it, and there are ways to do it in a really great way so that everybody can have a wonderful time. Now, the first thing to note is that if the kids are under 3 years old, they are free at Disney. Now, what does it mean they're free? It means that you are not paying for their park tickets. You are not paying for their meals when you have sit-down meals and you're sitting down to a restaurant. They will you often let you feed them off of your own food. So if you're at a buffet, if you're at a sit-down character dining experience, they'll give you a separate plate and you can feed them from your own food, which is fantastic. We took my son about a week before he turned 3, and it was a great time to go. He had a lot of fun meeting the characters. He had a lot of fun in all the parks, and there is a ton for kids to do who are small. Most of the rides at Walt Disney World are actually no height requirements, which means you can be any height, any size, any age to ride them. And most of them are not going to be super thrilling in the way that you're going to have to feel super buckled in or be afraid that they're going to be totally afraid on the ride. So for all those reasons, taking kids when they're young can be a great cost savings. It can be a great way for you to make magical memories together. And it can also be a great way for you to just maximize your time while they're little, while they're young, as a family or as friends going with little ones. All right, so the first thing you need to know when you are going to Walt Disney World with little kids is that there are some very specific rules about traveling in cars in Florida, as there are in many states. These are good rules to have. It keeps everyone safe. But what I want to note here is that if they are under the age of 6 years old, they are required to be in a car seat. This makes it really difficult to use rideshare systems like Lyft and Uber, for example, because while you can request a vehicle that will have a car seat, you are running a little bit more of a risk on how well it's been installed, the cleanliness of the car seat, as there are not specific standards with those types of rideshare services as you would find in other options. And it may make your delay a little bit longer as you're waiting for a very select number of vehicles that will have that for you. You always have the option to travel with your car seat. Some of you may be choosing to do that depending on your flight. But if you're landing in MCO Airport or even at Sanford, there's going to be 2 recommendations that I have for you when getting from the airport to your hotel or resort. Number 1, you can do a shared shuttle service. It's a shuttle bus type of thing. It used to be all included at Disney. It has not been for quite some time now, but Mears Shuttle is the best game in town for a shuttle service. They will pick you up at the terminal. There's a huge Mears dedicated area. You can't miss it. There's signs everywhere at MCO, for example. And you will board a bus shared with a lot of other people. They will make multiple stops at different resorts, so you will have a little bit of a longer time getting from the airport to your hotel, but it's a great way to go if you have a large group of people, and it's the most cost-effective way for you to travel with your luggage and whatever else you've brought with you and your family. So if you'd like a shared shuttle service at a great cost, Mears is going to be your best bet. Now, if you'd prefer a more direct option that's going to not be a shared service, then I would recommend a private transfer. My favorite company that I love to work with, I book them for our own family travel, is Away We Go Transportation. Away We Go has some incredible drivers, beautifully cleaned vans and cars that you can get. And it is a slightly higher rate, but it will take you directly, you and your group only, to your hotel. There will be no stopping. There will be no waiting for other guests to fill up the shuttle. So it can be very efficient, and they have great car seats. They are so clean. They have booster seats. You can assign all of the things that you need to request all of that with you before you even go as part of your booking. The other thing that I love about Away We Go, and we'll talk about this a little bit more too, is that they do provide stroller rentals as well. This can be a really great option if you are not bringing your own stroller with you, but you want to have one for the duration of your stay. They will actually have that stroller in the van when they pick you up at the airport, and they will deliver you, your luggage, and your stroller at your resort, and they will take it from you as soon as they pick you up at the end of your stay. It can be really convenient. They also allow for you to do things like pre-reserve a case of water bottles. So if you'd like to have a case of water bottles to keep in your room with you for the week or for the time that you'll be there, you can put all of that in your booking and it will all be delivered with you. You're not going to have to make a separate stop or get it at guest services. All right, so we talked about transportation. The next thing I want to talk about is stroller rental or strollers. You're going to want a stroller. Walt Disney World is massive. There are 4 parks, and one of the options you do have is renting a stroller in the park on the day that you arrive. Now, these are first come, first serve. So if you're not getting to the park super early in the day, you do run the risk of potentially not having a stroller with you. As someone who has 2 young kids, and as my kids are even starting to get a little bit older, having a stroller is so helpful. Not only does it give those little legs a place to take a rest when they are tired from walking, it also holds all your stuff. You can pack your snacks, you can pack a soft cooler, any merch that you pick up. It is like the place to just put everything. So I love that we are in our stroller era as a family. What I will say is I recommend that you either bring a stroller of your own if you have one that you really enjoy, but do keep in mind if you are flying down, there is a risk for any kind of damage on the airline. I hear that from people all the time, that they have a stroller they've loved and they've brought it down and somehow in the process of flying, it has been damaged. So if you want to avoid that, my recommendation is to rent a stroller, not from the parks, but from a stroller rental company. This can be really helpful. Now, why not rent in the park and just do that? Well, the reason is, one, the distance from your bus drop off, the transportation that you're taking, the parking lot, wherever you're going from into the front of your park is a bit of a long walk. So it may not seem like a big deal in the morning when everyone's full of energy and super excited, but at the end of the day, those legs aren't going to make it. The idea of walking all the way out to where your bus might be picking you up, it can be a long walk depending on where you are. And so you're gonna want that stroller, not just for when you're in the parks, but when you're transferring between your resort, between other hotels, between the parks and so on. This is gonna make it so much easier. On the monorail, for example, you don't even have to roll it up or fold it up. You can just roll it right on. So I would definitely recommend just planning to have a stroller with you for the duration of your stay. And when you do that, you should definitely book with Kingdom Strollers. Kingdom Strollers has been in this game for quite some time. They have wonderful single and double strollers that you can rent. That's usually the City Mini that I prefer to use. They are great. They are easy to navigate. They're easy to fold up and fold back down. And they often come with their own soft cooler for you to use and rain cover, which is super helpful because you never know when those afternoon showers are going to just pop up during your trip. So Kingdom Strollers is the one that we often, actually every time that we go, we rent from Kingdom Strollers, or we rent with Away We Go, depending on how we're planning to kind of navigate from the airport and so on. So those are 2 really great options for rentals. What they will do with Kingdom Strollers is they will actually drop it off and meet you at your resort. Sometimes you have to do an actual handoff where they will meet you at a specific time. You can take the stroller and then you can return it with them at the end of your stay. So those are great choices, and it's actually pretty cost effective to just rent one for the duration. So we talked about how kids are free when it comes to dining under the age of 3, but even if they're a little bit older, say your kiddos are around the 5-6-year-old mark, they snack a lot. If your kids are anything like my kids, who are right now 7 and 5, they would rather snack than eat any normal food. So one of my biggest recommendations when you're traveling with kids is to go ahead and plan for a grocery delivery order to your resort room. This is a game changer. You are able to actually pack snacks, lunches, breakfast, whatever you want, and bring it into the parks with you. A lot of people don't realize that you can have a cooler, you can have a bag full of snacks that you just take into the park with you. And I recommend that you do that. There's nothing worse than waiting in a line somewhere and your kid's starting to melt down because they need a snack. You don't want to spend all that money every time having to drop what you're doing and find a snack that they're going to want to enjoy, or try to have this which snack do you want right now conversation, and instead just have your favorite snacks delivered to your hotel. Often they will deliver these to your hotel front desk and you can go and pick them up and bring them to your room and have them with you. Depending on the room type that you've booked, you may have a kitchenette, you may have a full kitchen. This can be a great way to not only save some money, but also make sure that you have all the things that your kids are used to eating, because sometimes that big change in routine when they're little can really throw them off and kind of affect their mood quite a bit. So if you know that they love eating goldfish, they love having an applesauce pouch, just get those, have them delivered, have your water delivered. There's a few different services and companies that do this all over the parks and all over the area. And so definitely recommend considering having a grocery delivery done for your stay, so you get all the snacks and food that you want, and you can have your breakfast in your room if you'd like, and bring snacks into the park and save yourself a little bit of money and a little bit of chaos when you're in the parks. Now, I mentioned that most of the rides, especially if you go to Magic Kingdom, do not have a height requirement, which means even babies can go on them. Now, it also means you got to know your kids pretty well. There may be some rides that, even if there is no height requirement, may still be a little scary to your kiddo, depending on how they respond to certain things. For example, Haunted Mansion is sometimes a ride that if a kid is easily scared, because it is a pretty dark ride, you may want to avoid that even though there is no height requirement for it. Surprisingly, my kids, when they were little, loved Haunted Mansion, thought it was funny and silly and have a great time with it, but it's not for everyone. Same thing goes for things like Pirates of the Caribbean. It's pretty loud, it's pretty dark. So again, knowing your kids and having a travel agent who can kind of help navigate those rides with fright for you can help you make a really good game plan for which rides to avoid and which ones you don't want to miss when you go to the park. All right, the next thing I want to talk about is choosing your parks and choosing them wisely. I think all 4 of the Disney World parks are worth visiting, especially with young kids. They all give you something a little bit different. Magic Kingdom has obviously the most attractions, the most rides, and gives you the most nostalgia and little kid vibe. With all of Fantasyland and Tomorrowland, Adventureland, I think that your best bet, if you're going for the first time or you're going with kids and you don't want to feel super rushed, is to actually plan for 2 days at Magic Kingdom. We do this as a family, and it is so much easier for us to not feel pressured to try to get it all in one day. We love to have 2 days at Magic Kingdom, one day to just kind of take it as we go, and the other day to go back to those attractions that we love, that we don't want to miss, or maybe do those things that we didn't get to on day 1 at Magic Kingdom. I would also say Animal Kingdom Park is a beautiful park for any age. I'm a huge fan of Animal Kingdom. I also think that it's a great park to have in the middle of your stay and kind of have a decompression day. You may not spend the whole day there with very little kids because there are not a ton of rides that they can go on, but it is beautiful, it is spaced out, there's a ton of shade, there's great shows to see like the Lion King show. So I think that there's a lot you can do there, and it can also feel like a little bit of a breath of fresh air after being in some of the busier parks like Hollywood Studios, Epcot, or Magic Kingdom. So I like to kind of position my Animal Kingdom day with our family somewhere in the middle. Maybe it's somewhere that we spend a half day together and then we have some more resort time if we can use the pool and things like that. But having it as a bit of like a breather day, it's still a really great park to explore, and there's tons of animals to see and things to do. It'll just feel a lot less sensory overload than some of the other ones that you visited. All right, my last bit of advice here is take the naps, take the breaks. If your kids are used to napping, don't try to power through. There's a few ways you can do this. You know your kids best. And so if they are kids who need to be in a bed in a quiet, dark space, take them back to your resort midday. It starts to get really busy in the afternoons, starts to get hot in the afternoons. Take them back, let them swim, let them nap, and then go back to the park a little bit later when it's cooled off, as it starts to get a little bit darker, and maybe they'll have a new sense of energy for the fireworks, or you can go and enjoy some different snacks and activities in the parks in the evening. So I would say take your naps if you need them. The other thing is, if your kids are great at stroller naps, there's some great places to go and take a nap. We ended up having the best experience the last time we went. Both of my kids around 2:30 started to wilt, you know, that wilty face, the thing that starts to happen. And we got on the railroad at Magic Kingdom and we rode it two times. We didn't even get off, we just stayed on it, and we looped that railroad twice because both kids kind of just fell asleep against us, and we thought this is all we need to give them a cat nap and get back to it, and it worked out great. So do not feel like you have to power through from rope drop to park closing. It is not realistic, especially with young kids. They'll be miserable. You'll be miserable. Don't do it. It's okay to take breaks. There's tons to explore at your resort. There's really a benefit for the whole family when you can take those breaks as you need them. All right, so these are some of my best tips for taking young kids to Disney. I think the biggest thing I can say is that it is worth it. Do not feel like you have to wait until they're older. Take advantage of those free years where you're not having to pay another $100 per ticket per day. You're not having to pay the $50 or the $45 for a character meal. Take them, make the memories as a family, explore it as a big group. You will not regret it. You will only regret the trips that you don't take and the time that you don't spend together as a family. So I hope this was helpful. If you have some of your favorite tried and true Disney with kids tips and tricks, drop them in the comments for me, and make sure that you also check out some of my recent videos about different character dining experiences. These are great ones for kids and I highly recommend them. So check out those reviews here. Thanks for watching.